So it is my pleasure to welcome you, Iain Shaw, to the Neurodifference podcast. Can you tell us a bit about yourself, what you do, and where you're from?
Thank you very much, and thank you very much for having me. It's so great to be on different podcasts and stuff, and I love the idea of talking about neurodiversity. It's something very close to my heart these days. Well, I come from a small town called Romsey, which is just by Southampton. You might have heard it mentioned a few times on The Crown on Netflix. For anyone who watches that, they mentioned going shooting at Broadlands. That's here. It's an estate here, and Charles and Di got married here, and I believe that worked out fine, so we won't worry about that. I've been doing podcasts and things for years. For a day job, I do some boring admin stuff, so we won't worry about that. But I host a podcast where I interview people. I go under the name Dr. Squee on that, so it's the Dr. Squee Show. I've got another one where we talk about this old TV show Due South, and it was something I wanted to do because me and my friends were always into that show, and like there was a particular friend of mine, we always used to talk about it when it was on TV in the 90s. And I thought, well, no one talks about it anymore, and it was like the biggest thing on TV on a Saturday at one stage. And then it turns out there was these fans all over the world, and I got to interview quite a lot of the cast, including Paul Gross, who played the Mountie on it, who some people will remember of a certain age. But yes, and I recorded a show about Star Trek as well. I've been known to do kind of hosting at some events and stuff, so I've got to interview some of my childhood heroes. I started doing podcasts through a podcast called Gallifrey Stands, which was all about Doctor Who, which was my kind of childhood passion. Now I kind of realised maybe my special interest, which I didn't know at the time. So I got to interview quite a few of the doctors, like Pete Davidson, Sylvester McCoy, Colin Baker. I met John Hurt once, which was a huge honour for me, who played the War Doctor. That hopefully gives you a little bit about myself. And when I do a little bit of writing, and I've recorded some audio plays before, so that's my little rap sheet.
That's so cool, especially meeting Sylvester McCoy. Especially, I once met him at a Comic-Con once. Just such a lovely, down to earth guy. A pleasure to talk to. I had absolutely no idea that Robinson was famous. Sorry?
I was just going to say quickly, Peter Davidson's the one for me because when I was a kid, he was the Doctor on TV at the time. So I got to interview him with one of his companions, Sarah Sutton, who played this character called Nissa. And I interviewed them, and I was kind of really focused on trying to kind of come up with questions which were a little bit different and everything. And it was only afterwards when I was kind of walking away to get a bus home, and I was like, oh my God, I just interviewed Peter Davison. It's like it just clicked in my head. And because it was a childhood hero, it kind of, that one takes on a different status. So that one was the big one for me. But yeah, Sylvester McCoy's lovely too, you're right.
Yeah, no, I kind of mainly grew up on Christopher Eccleston, David Tennant, but I've heard that Peter Davidson was is a tremendous doctor. He also came back. Correct me if I'm wrong, but he also came back for a Time Crash special with David Tennant once, didn't he?
For Children in Need, really fun little episode. Yes. It's just like it's 10 minutes long, but it's just they're having a laugh, they're making jokes about it, and then they get like this really sweet moment at the end. I love it when they do those kind of little shorts, and they're so impactful. Sorry, we'll get back onto neurodivergency in a minute, but there was one which they did where it was like just this 7-minute short. It was called Night of the Doctor. It was before they had the 50th anniversary special. And again, it's 7 minutes long, and it's Paul McGann in it, and we haven't seen him since he did TV movie in Doctor Who, so it was like a huge thing, and they surprised everyone with it. And it's just amazing. Like you can't believe they've packed so much into a short little adventure, and it sets up. You don't need to have seen it, but if you have, it contextualizes a bit and sets up the Day of the Doctor, which was the absolute massive 50th anniversary special with lots of the Doctors all over it.
It's fascinating, especially when you talk about special interests. Doctor
Mm.
Who. I could listen about Doctor Who till the cows come home because of my neurodiverse mind. Other subjects include the FIFA World Cup. I kind of going back on to neurodiversity and neurodiverse
Yeah, please.
conditions. When did yourself or your family start to notice the signs of you having ADHD? And perhaps you'd like to tell us a bit more about how old you were when you were diagnosed as well.
Yeah, so it's kind of a bit of a story because when I was a kid, my brother was one of the first people kind of in our local area really to get diagnosed with dyslexia. It was kind of just really, they were kind of discovering what it was, the fact that it wasn't like they knew about it before, but it was like it was only one thing, and it was like you find with neurodivergencies in media and the way it's portrayed on TV. There's one type of it which does exist, but it's like that's the only type you get shown. So dyslexia, you have to have letters dancing in your head, otherwise you haven't got it, according to common misconception. But it's kind of like loads of different types, and that's what we found with autism, with ADHD. We found so much more information about it. So anyway, sorry, I digress. But my brother had one particular sort of form of dyslexia, and they weren't really set up for it. So basically, they set him in the corner, and they got him doing jigsaws. And when my mum heard about this, understandably, she hit the roof, had a word with them. By the time I got to school, like they put in help immediately for my brother, just so no one worries. But by the time I got to the school, they had a small special needs department, which is what we used to call it at the time. I know that phrase isn't used much now, but that's what we call them. And so, I got kind of regular help meetings. I kind of went off to, they had a little special needs office where a few of us would meet for a weekly session. It was kind of very under what it needed to be, basically, because it was like, at the time, it was like, oh, you've all got neurodivergency. You can all go, like, basically you all go in with the kids who are naughty and with any different condition. Like, it was better than what they had before of nothing, but it was like it's putting a load of different problems in one basket, which you can't really help in that way. It's now great they've got kind of one-on-one help for a lot of young people. My mum did actually ask for them to test me for ADHD because honestly, I don't know how I wasn't diagnosed as a kid. I was like the poster boy. I was just so hyperactive. Yeah, as you can tell, I can talk. I was just there was no limit to my energy back then. You cut to like me in my 40s, I felt really kind of low energy. I was struggling to get stuff done. It would be that it was a million ideas, a million conversations going on in my head at any given time, plus whatever conversations I could hear around me and the person who was trying to talk to me above all that noise. And that's how I describe it to people. It's just endless different types of noise going on at the same time, and you just can't focus on one thing, and the ideas just pop out of your head like crazy, and it's putting them into action that can be the challenge. So anyway, I met this new friend of mine, and she said, it's like, oh, I think you've got ADHD. And I said, oh, I don't think so. Let me just look up the symptoms and scoff derisively in your general direction. So just look at my phone there. It's like, me. Oh, sugar. So that was pretty much my self-diagnosis journey. But then, I just started looking into it. I found out loads more, even before formal diagnosis. I found that just learning why I reacted the certain ways, which I did, was so powerful. I never knew I was kind of quite sensitive to noise. I knew I like crowds and I like people, but I didn't realize how overwhelming it could be when there's just all those voices going on. And it's sort of, when it's an absolutely massive crowd, it's not so bad because the noises drown each other out. When it's enough people that your brain can sort of focus on the conversations, I think that's the worst for me, because I am trying to focus on everything everyone's saying. Just my head just tries to pick it all up. It was when I was 45 last year. I was finally diagnosed in October, so I'm really new to diagnosis, and I'm on my medication for it now. Which I know you've got some other questions on that area, so does that kind of answer that?
Yeah. No. No. That's awesome. So, especially kind of like having that background, your brother being diagnosed with
Yeah.
dyslexia. It sounds to me like your family knew um, knew a lot about neurodiversity in the build
Yeah.
up the sort of your diagnosis to notice those differences in
Well, I
differences in your
can speak to
character,
that.
should we say?
Yeah, sorry to jump over you there. Just
Sorry, yeah,
yeah, like
please.
no. I think I was very lucky in that regard because sorry, my dog just moving around the background there. But yeah, I was very lucky in that regard because my mum used to be a nurse. She actually used to work with children with psychiatric disorders, if that's the correct term. Apologies if I ever use the wrong, incorrect terminology. I'm happy for people to correct me. If anyone's listening and I've used it wrong, just correct me. I want to do better. So just put that out there. But yeah, so
I'm sorry to jump over you there, Ian. Just want to
course,
say on neurodifference, there's no filter in regards to the conversations. So please be forthcoming with any language that you feel comfortable in talking about. That's
sure,
I don't want
yeah.
to say that's one of the rules of this. I find rules can always be circumnavigated, but it's one of the guidelines, you might say, of the show. So please,
It's
yeah.
funny you should mention rules though, because now I saw one thing's process say with dyslexia, I kind of like sort of used to lump all like my issues, which were not issues, but all the things about me which were kind of different. I used to lump into dyslexia, and then when I heard about learned about the ADHD, it's like, well, yeah, clearly all this stuff doesn't fit in dyslexia, and I found this kind of little subset of things, and it's like I'm now kind of waiting to be tested for autism as well. But I think the because like something that one thing I learned was people told me that it's like, well, when you've got multiple neurodivergencies, some of the symptoms of one bit can mask others, but it doesn't mean they're not there. And it's like I suddenly, because you're saying about rules, I suddenly realized I really love a rule. I like to know defined what I'm doing. So because I'm not trying to get things wrong. It's sort of like the phrasing. It's like I love it when people kind of say it's like, oh, you said that. It's like actually this is kind of like we feel this term's more respectful to these people, whatever. Great, go on. I don't want to offend anyone. It's
I
fine.
agree.
I'm happy to learn.
I
But
agree
it's
with
like,
you. I feel the same. Sorry, yeah.
but it's like, just tell
Uh,
me the rules. That's all I want. It's like, don't. If I don't know and I get something wrong, don't get annoyed at me. Just educate me. That's great. I live to learn, you know. So and that's something I used to get really uptight about. I used to go, it's like, oh, I was trying to get it right. So now I'm like, hey, just teach me. It's cool. It's fine. So everything's all right. Because
exactly.
again, if you
Same.
don't know, it's kind of you run into yourself because you think you're trying to run yourself by. It's like your two operating systems. Like neurotypical people are Windows, and we're working on kind of iOS. And it's like, yeah, just both fine operating systems, but don't try and use the kind of formulae you might use on one or the other.
It's kind of like they're Microsoft, we're Apple, kind of thing.
Mm,
But at least that's what I've always kind of like seen it as just different operating system, which incidentally is why one of the reasons why I wanted to call this Neurodifference, because it's just different. Name this podcast
yeah.
Neurodifference, different, not and that's all. So how did you start your journey towards being diagnosed with ADHD? I know we kind of like briefly touched upon that. So um, how this journey towards the diagnosis of ADHD. Can you tell us? Can you tell us a bit more about that, please?
Well, I will. What I will say just in advance is I will give you kind of the kind of part three. One thing I will say on my YouTube channel, I did this on purpose because people ask me a lot about what the kind of process of diagnosis is like, how you can maybe get shortcuts and stuff. I'll go into it a bit here, but if you go to youtube.com/Dr. Squee, DOCTOR, full word, Squee, SQUEE. And then there's a video there which I
Sorry,
talk about the
Ian.
whole
Could you
process, like
repeat
for about
those
an
links,
hour.
please?
But yeah, it's
Sorry, Ian. Could you repeat those links, please? You just cut out there for a second. Sorry.
no worries. So it's youtube.com/Dr. Squee, DOCTOR, so full word, Squee, SQUEE. And I do like an hour and change talking about my process for diagnosis. I recorded it the day I was diagnosed, I believe. And it was just, or it might have been after, just after I started the tablets, actually. So yeah, do check that out. But yeah, very kind of in a quick kind of version. So I kind of contacted my GP, and they, well, actually no, I got lucky because I'd just done some counselling coincidentally at my GP, and they gave me a ring from their mental health team, which I thought was amazing. Like, you know, I've never heard of that happening before. And I've had counselling a few times. I used to work as a counsellor myself, so I'm very comfortable with it. But yeah, for them to actually call and go, hey, how's everything going following that? I just thought that was great. And I said, well, it's going pretty well. And I had another session coming up, but I've actually been told by someone and looked it up, and it looks like I might have ADHD. How do I start getting that looked into? They said, oh, well, what we'll do is we'll send you an online little assessment you'll do. We'll score that, then it kind of gives a rough score. They then decide whether or not they think it's worth putting you forward to get some proper testing for ADHD. And we'll give you a call back next week with the results. So if you just fill it in, send it back to us as soon as we send out to you. So I did that, and they called me and they go, yeah. So it's like, it was something like out of 18, I was at 15. I was at kind of very at the top end of. It's like, yeah, we're pretty sure, but we have to go through the motions. So they then put you on a waiting list, and the waiting list. Well, I say that they put it in. I then waited a month and I hadn't heard anything. So I was like, I was in the doctor's about something else. I said, and any news on the ADHD thing? And they go, oh, we'll just check on the system. It's like, what had happened was they sent it off. It got agreed for funding. It got sent back, but the person then has to reply going, yes, please, put him on the waiting list. And that person left in the meantime, and there's no system for forwarding it. This is how dire it is with stuff getting lost in the NHS, which could be so preventable by just forwarding emails of someone who leaves. So stuff doesn't get missed. But anyway, that's another issue. But they lost it. They then tried to transfer it, and then they got, then they were then, then I was on the waiting list. Then I got the letter. Then a friend of mine said, well, actually, if you go private through Right to Choose, this is a big thing. If you're waiting to get seen and you're on a long waiting list, the waiting list I was told at the time was 2.5 years, and it's just doubled, I think, in the local area since then. And in the south, we're actually pretty lucky with being quite long the list compared to other areas in the country. Can be up to 9-10 years, but there's Right to Choose. So basically, the NHS, as you may know, kind of work with private partners. As opposed to them transferring you to them to get down their waiting list, you basically contact your GP and go, look, I'm on this waiting list. I want to move to, and at the time I was moving to Psychiatry UK, which had a 1.5 waiting list. So it cut a year off my time. So they did that. They managed to lose it again and find it. And anyway, got put through. And then I was kind of waiting about another 6. I think we've kind of somehow skipped to about 1.5 years on this journey, like with all this stuff by this stage, this next stage. And someone says to me, oh, well, actually, ADHD 360 have just set up, and they've got a really low waiting list at the moment. There's the son of the person I was talking to got seen in 3 months. I was like, oh, okay. So I contacted them, found out that was, they was taking referrals, did Right to Choose again to go from Psychiatry UK to ADHD 360. They moved me there. And ADHD 360, so like Psychiatry UK, the good thing was I was suddenly getting emails, and they were doing check-in like emails to see if everyone's okay while you're waiting. With ADHD 360, they do it sort of the opposite way. They don't send any emails confirming, like they said, look, make sure you get your referral sent to this email address and we will definitely get it. But we don't reply to anyone until they're being seen, because that way we concentrate on getting people seen quicker. So it's very frustrating, but I understand why they do it. But within 4 months, I was seen. They were lovely. They sent me some stuff in advance. There's a few kind of online tests you do. There's one which is excruciating, where you have to click on the screen. You get box like squares or circles flashing up on the screen, and they're either blue or red. So if you get 2 reds in a row, or if you get the same shape in a row, you press the space bar. If you don't, you don't. So if it's like a blue square and a red circle, they're they're not the same shape, they're not the same color. But if the next one is a circle, there's two circles in a row, if that makes sense.
Mm.
So anyway, you do all that, and like that's 20 minutes of sitting there in silence, just watching shapes go at you. It's like a weird torture. And if you've got ADHD, then it's just, I want to be doing anything but sitting here just clicking on circles. It's just the concentration it demands that you don't have is just excruciating. However, and I said to the person when I got seen, it's like, oh, that was torture. They go, yeah, it's meant to be. That's kind of the idea. But apparently and again, it was another really high score. It was like 18 out of 19. And on the other things, I'd scored quite highly. And then when I got seen face to face, if you're going through this, anyone out there, it will be really difficult. You're basically talking about your whole life through the lens of ADHD, which you might not have known you've had, but suddenly, like when you're talking about it, you're going, oh yeah, because that must have been because of that. Oh, and that because and actually I struggle with that. And they ask you the questions to make sure you're talking about the right areas of your life and how it affected you. But it's extremely emotional afterwards. I mean, like, they said, it's like, oh, was there anything you're worried about? I go, honestly, that you're going to say I don't have it. I've just spent the last couple of years, it was by the stage I got seen, of just feeling like I'm just, like people say you're lazy, or people say it doesn't really exist. And then you find out about ADHD and you find different ways of working. Your life just instantly gets a bit better. And then when you're in front of someone and they have the power to go, no, you don't have it, that thing which seems like the answer, no, that is so emotional. And then you find out you do, and then you kind of question, why did no one know earlier? And you go through that when you first find out you've got it, and then you go through it again when you get diagnosed formally. But then they start me on titration for the medication, which starts at a low dose, and there's 3 doses. When you first get it, is a real kick in the bum, and it is a lot, because it's like, you go from, because you end up internalizing a lot of stuff over the years. That's why you go quieter when you're older with ADHD, and you might not present as much in the ways everyone understands, but it's all going on in your head. And so the tablets kind of brought it back out of me again, as you can hear by the amount I speak. But it kind of like, it sort of just made me be able to be active, be able to get stuff done, be able to finish tasks, be able to like, right, I'm doing too much right now. Like, stop doing these things and do these things properly, and just organize myself better. It doesn't all go away. But sometimes I'll be talking like this. Other times I'll purposely have an evening where I'll sit on my own in quiet, not saying anything, because that's what I need at that moment. But because I like talking and being conversational with people, and this kind of interview I love, I never realized I also sometimes need the opposite, because, like, if you're just on 10 all the time, that's so exhausting. And that's where I've lived for all these years, like either 10 externally or internally, and just kind of breaks you. And then you get this help. The tablets just made a huge difference. Takes a while, and like it's almost like the tablets kind of solve how you do things, but then you've got to catch up with your habits. So to begin with, it kind of knocked my appetite right down. So I've always been an overeater. And it's kind of a case of I know I'm not hungry during the day when I've taken the tablets. It's in the evening I'll suddenly get hungry, and then I'll eat usually a fair sized meal, but that'll be me for the day. I might have a breakfast bar in the morning when I have my tablet. That's about it. And maybe one when I get home, just to keep my sugar levels up, because to begin with I was like, I started getting a bit lightheaded, so you kind of find your level with it. But to begin with, when I first started taking tablets, I was eating how I used to, and I felt sick all the time. I was like, yeah, because you're not hungry. Why are you doing that? Stop eating when you're not hungry. You're just used to eating at that time, so that's what you're doing. And that's so true of a lot of systems. It's like I get frustrated at work sometimes if I make a mistake, because I used to make silly, careless mistakes all the time because I'd get distracted, and then suddenly that isn't happening anymore because I can focus a bit more. And now, but like the other day, something went wrong and I didn't know what, and it frustrated me so much. And then I made a silly mistake because I was getting frustrated with myself. And then I was like, do you know what? Just breathe. Have a conversation with the person who said that you were making mistakes. They talked to me about it. They found out what was going wrong. It turns out a filter wasn't on my machine, so that's why stuff was going wrong. And it was solved. And just it allowed me that grace to just go, hey, look, why are you getting panicked? Just try and resolve the issue. No one's mad at you. No one's having a go. It's not what used to happen. And you learn it's not the same thing. It's like you're still going to have moments where you make mistakes, sometimes countless mistakes, but it doesn't mean that you're going back. But it's hard to trust that after years of really struggling with something. So that was kind of my journey to diagnosis.
Well,
and that's the short version.
That last part sounds like terrific advice for anybody who could be going through a similar kind of experience. I suppose I find getting older and making what I see as sort of like silly mistakes. For example,
Mm.
I'm dyspraxic, and whenever I have Weetabix for breakfast, and I usually always get crumbs on the kitchen counter. I'm like, flipping out. This is just gonna try and
And
do
are
it better.
crumbs one of the things
Try
for
and do
you
it
you
better
just
next
can't
time.
stand?
Well, I find that those are kind of few and far between. Although in saying that, there was this one podcast recording I was doing recently, and I lost an entire script. Uh, by basically clicking the wrong button. I was like, flipping heck! I've lost an entire script. I've worked on it. I've worked on it a lot. I was ready to do another recording. You know how it is. Like the more content you've
Yeah,
got, awesome. Um, kind of thing. But yeah,
that's
I
funny.
that was just one example of something that just really got under my skin in terms of that really annoyed me when it came to doing work. I'm I got to ask for people who are in the middle of an ADHD diagnosis on sort of like a waiting list. What what advice would you give them? Uh,
Join loads of groups, as much as possible have a conversation with neurodivergent people. I'm lucky enough, look into your workplace, because you'd be surprised, quite a few workplaces have neurodivergent groups, so NHS is really good for that. I'm at the local university. They've got
Because you worked in the
a
NHS. You
I have
work in
done,
the
yeah.
NHS. Is that correct, Ian?
No, I used to. So I work for local university now, but I worked there during COVID, and well, this kind of shows you kind of what people with neurodivergencies who kind of maybe kind of it can like shoot your confidence. That was kind of like during lockdown. I was looking for work. I sort of just unfortunately my job got wrapped up because of COVID. I didn't go on to the payment thing. God, I can't remember it now. What do they call it when they were paying some of your wages? Anyway, I didn't go on that. They didn't furlough me or anything. They just got
Furlough.
rid of my job.
When you went on
Furlough.
furlough.
Furlough. So they got rid of my job. And yeah, so I got called and they go, oh, well, we've got this telesales job. I said I wouldn't do phones. Oh, sorry, the phone job. And I said, I wouldn't really do telesales. They go, no, it's not. It's working for the NHS. You'll be working on the COVID line. I said, so it isn't. It's calling people, just seeing why they haven't had their vaccines and getting some information. It's basically like a little survey, and they use that to target the campaign. I managed to. I started doing that. Gone really well because I was kind of found the calls. Like I picked them up pretty easily. So I was putting IT advice into this kind of group chat we had on Teams, which was brand new at the time. And yeah, they promoted me to assistant manager because I was helping people out, and then manager. And that was during lockdown. And it was just kind of really wild ride. So yeah, I ended up kind of for a couple of years being manager of a team for the NHS. Yeah, I just say that because it's like I sometimes let stuff hold me back, and that just kind of sort of like I think because of my ADHD, I kind of took the risk of going for that because it was a short term thing. So it was for originally for a few weeks, and then maybe they were going to expand it, but we knew it was originally launched for flu vaccines, but they kind of straight away added COVID to it because that was happening. And then that kind of was the main thing. So it was already about to happen, but it was working from home, and yeah, I think because I had the option at one stage. I was sort of working part time with another job, and I had the option of continuing that part-time and finding something else, or taking a risk going full-time on this other job, which was like, it was getting extended 3 months at the time. We didn't know how long COVID was going to go on for, and I go, you know what, I'm going to put a bet on myself. And I think if it wasn't for that impulsivity that ADHD can give you, and that kind of like, do you know what, I need to make a decision now, so I'm just going to do this. So kind of like, it's a weird example of where it's kind of can be really helpful, this kind of thing, which sometimes even to us it can feel like a burden. Like I don't think people should see their neurodivergencies like that, but I understand why people do. But like I see so many benefits. I feel like we get along the way with it as well. But anyway, sorry, the NHS and universities, lots of places do these kind of like groups for neurodivergence, where you can just like a lot of them, like, well, in the case of at the university, it's online because some people aren't as comfortable with face to face. They sometimes do face to face things. But yeah, I started joining groups on Facebook and social media. I discovered loads of by the way, you'll probably discover also loads of your friends are neurodivergent, because we tend to gravitate towards each other. We've got similar eccentricities, similar kind of ways of thinking, similar kind of lack of limitations around some things which neurotypical people might have, because that's how society works. We're not
Yeah.
always as bothered about that, you know, in all ways. We like a rule, but we don't
I'm
necessarily
part of a
like
few groups
society.
myself. Yeah, yeah, I'm part
Yeah,
of a
and
few
it's like,
groups. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, and it's like, so new friends I was making, it was like I suddenly found this part of myself. I suddenly saw myself reflected in other people, which I hadn't before. And they talked about experiences where I was like, oh my God, that's not only me. Like, I'm not the only person who repeats words back to myself I find interesting. And there's a word for that, lalacalia? There's a word for it anyway.
Echolalia.
Echolalia, thank you.
Echolalia.
I should remember it because it's beautiful, but it just, I do that. And it just, and I always used to, like, people would hear me doing it and they go, what are you doing? Nothing. Because it would be embarrassing because I was just repeating a word, and wasn't that weird? There's a word for that. There's a word for that weird thing that only I did as far as I was concerned. And you find that about so many things, either small or large. And sometimes there's the small things that you think just are weird about you that it's like, no, it's a thing. And it's okay to have things which are unique about you, but it's also nice to
This
have that
group,
shared
the
experience
crowd.
to find
Yeah,
your tribe, really. And
yeah.
I don't like tribalism, because like you should never try and separate yourself off from people. But when you find people who share a commonality with you, and it's something you've never got to talk about, and it's such a big part of your life that affects you on a daily basis, that's what's amazing. So that's my biggest bit of advice. Find loads of other people. Keep on. If you find you're on a longer waiting list, look out there, see if there's other groups. And I know the admin is a pain in the ass, and that's the bit which is was the toughest for me. It's like your condition, like you know, with ADHD, the condition kind of sort of means that you're more prone to have difficulty. I don't like to generalize, but you're more prone to have difficulty arranging and planning things. So things like life admin, things like booking appointments, and you have to keep in contact with the NHS. Oh, did you actually get my phone? I haven't got a letter. You didn't. Oh, you've got it lost in the system. That's how I found it. It would still be there if I hadn't done that. And that's so scary, because that's something I really struggle with. Then later on, it's like,
Yeah.
oh, I need to get it transferred. Are you having trouble doing that? Sorry, have you actually done anything since I last talked to you? No, you haven't. Could you talk to Psychiatry UK? Could you find out what process you need to go to transfer my thing? Oh, it needs to transfer again because that waiting list shorter. I was in 2 months to do it at that stage, but I was like, you know what? I want to kind of beat this system almost. Like, it's not like anyone's trying to make it difficult, but the system is difficult. And it's like, it was almost an act of defiance of what people with ADHD who struggle with admin can manage to do, can manage to push, you know, life admin, they can push themselves to do. And so it's doable, but it's difficult and it's a pain. Just hold in there, because when you get over that and you get diagnosed, and if you choose to, you get medication, not everyone does, the profound difference it makes in your life, the medication has changed me. Like, very, very quickly, and then sorry, I'll let you get back in your own show. But very quickly, there was in October, I was doing a play, and this was just as I was getting diagnosed. So I actually had the phone call to get diagnosed while I was doing this play, and I hadn't done a play in years, but I was trying to push myself on new things, or things I hadn't done for ages. Blue Remembered Hills, it's called, but it was. and I got diagnosed, and then I went on the stage that night, and that was kind of weird because my head was in a really weird space. I think it might have given a little weird energy to the character. I'd sort of decided, because it was adults playing kids during the World War and they're kind of left to their own devices, they have some fun, but they get into trouble doing it. So it's adults playing kids as it was on the TV show. And I just decided, like, my kid was a bit of a bully. So I said, well, what if he's got ADHD and it's not diagnosed, and then he's acting out in this way because of it? And it kind of gave this whole backstory. But anyway, on the last day of the play, I get this phone call that my mum's fallen, broken her hip. She lives here in Romsey. And she was already having mobility issues. She lives on the first floor above what used to be my dad's shop. She owns the building. She rents that out. And it meant that she was going to really struggle to live in this house on her own. And even though it'd get a bit better, at 86, it wasn't going to get all the way better. So when she went in hospital, I was already due to sort of like move back quickly, help her with sort out a few things in the house, and then move on again at Christmas time. So like for 3 months it was at the time. When she fell, I went on stage that night, which again, very, very weird energy. And then the next day, I had a month in the end, which I didn't know at the time, but to get everything sorted out of the house, get it so you could go through, get new handrails fitted, get a bathroom changed over. And they started me on the medication at this time. And there is no way I would have got a fraction of the things done for my mum if I hadn't been on the medication, which started just at that moment. And it just felt like, it was almost like it was destined to be, because I'm like, now I'm still trying to sort out mum's house, still trying to sort out her bills. On the top floor of house, there's nothing there because she can't get up there. So I'm kind of turning that to a mini flat for myself. But I look at all I've achieved since October and now, where I've been on the medication. And I've not only kind of straightened out a lot of stuff for her life, but I've also started straightening stuff out for my life. Because that's the other thing when you get diagnosed, you suddenly look around and you go, oh my God, all these things I've half done, all this kind of like incompleted stuff, all this stuff I want to do that I've never achieved. And so you feel like you're suddenly playing a lot of catch up and you want to do everything at once. Please be as kind to yourself as possible. I get it. It's a magic power. It feels great when you get that ability, but it's not going anywhere. And you won't believe me, and it won't feel like that, and you'll do too much. So take this with a pinch of salt, because I'm sure you'll do exactly what I did. Burn yourself out by doing too much. I was running myself ragged, and but it got to a stage where I was kind of caught up, and I looked around and I go, you know what, Mum can get through the house. She's got a bathroom sorted. They got converted to a shower room. I even managed to get her the VAT off because I looked up, and because it's not value added, because she had an accident. You know, she needs that because of her mobility. But again, I would never have looked into that. I would someone would tell me about it, go, oh no, that's too complicated, and I would have essentially handed away that money of my mum's because the life admin of it felt too overwhelming. So basically, you'll be able to do lots more. It'll be great, but just be kind to yourself. I hope that answered some sort of question, but it's sort of like, it just made me think of that. It's like, it was such a quick example of how the tablets helped me out as soon as I went on them.
The medication. So I'd imagine when you got your diagnosis, it was I'd imagine the feeling was incredibly powerful. Should we say? See, yeah. I'm doing it now. Yeah, echolalia.
It's finding out who you are. Like it is as profound as that. I always had a kind of felt a kinship. When I was growing up in the 80s, I was born in 78, so my earliest memories are in the 80s, and you had like 80s and 90s, you had these kind of like new wave of right on kind of left wing comics, but they'd be on TV at the same time as the Bernard Mannings and the really right wing comics. It was a very weird time for TV. However, I'd see these kind of young, diverse, different people on TV for some which for the first time were represented, and it's like I always felt kinship to all that, to people who are LGBTQ, to people who different races, like people who kind of for some reason are made other and different by society, and I never knew why, and it just suddenly clicked. It's like, yeah, because I'm other than society. Like if technically, if you create something as someone who's neurodivergent, I don't know if you like if you familiar with this term, but it's outside of art it counts as, because we are neurologically different. Well, they like outside art is a very broad term because it can be anyone from any different. So they have serial killers who create art in prison, and it's called outside art because it's anyone who's outside the mainstream. So very different communities, by the way, just in case anyone's listening and they're worried. We're not all serial killers. They're very, very different. But it's just a general term for someone who's kind of, and I was like, wow, sorry, outsider art. And it's like neurodivergent. That's a cool term. Do you know the tablets we take? They're psychostimulants. I mean, it's like I feel like I've got a superhero language around this now. And I used to feel inferior because of my differences. And that's the way I felt society made me feel. And now it's just, oh my God, it's amazing. I've got this thing which makes me creative and different. And I'm on the medication. I can actually put these million plans I get into my head into action. And it's like, I can do all this stuff and I can create things. And it's like, I love being creative. And it's just, it kind of ignites your passion. And you, yeah, as I say, it turns that huge negative that society makes you feel into just a huge positive of being you.
Yeah, as you know, I've been diagnosed with autism. There are many times I feel autism is a different ability, not just a condition that disables me. Here, like autism being compared to disability almost a lot. Should we say, a lot? What is your view of ADHD and how it impacts your life?
Yeah, I mean, it's. I feel like I should give a shout out to Dyslexia just quickly as well, just because I'm also in that kind of community. So yeah, so with dyslexia, actually, is so I'm slow at writing. My writing isn't very clear, and I broke my arm a couple of years back, and since then, and I've also got a circulation disorder, so blood doesn't flow to my hands and feet always very well. It's called Raynaud's. So in this weather, it's just a nightmare. But I went to sign the other day, and it's like it's like so it just my hand just goes jelly. Sometimes I just have to. I've had to get people to fill in forms for me now. But I was never a fan of filling in forms anyway, so that's all good. But anyway, that's dyslexia very quickly. But yeah, ADHD. It affects everything. It's like you can be out one night, have an absolutely great night. You get home and you get a message saying, "Oh, how could you say that thing to that person tonight?" So what thing? Oh, you said this. It's like, oh, I meant that nice. That's I meant this by that. It's like, no, that doesn't mean that. That means that. And you suddenly realize that's that kind of like another analogy I use is like it's like being neurodivergent and being neurotypical. It's like speaking British and American. Technically, they're both English, but they're very like suddenly someone mentions fannies and the American doesn't know why the British person's laughing a lot more because it means two different things. It's just it's and you feel
I
like
like
you just
that analogy. I really like that analogy.
yeah
Yeah, different. Different. Not
and just
exactly the
yeah.
same. Yeah,
But
yeah.
it's similar enough that when you say the wrong thing, people don't think that you're just expressing yourself differently. They think like, and they don't believe you when you go, no, I actually meant that. It's like, oh yeah, sure you did. It's like, no, I did. Like that's
Apologies
why
for
would I
the
want to
alarm, by
insult you?
the way,
Why would
Ian.
that's all right.
um, yeah,
Yeah,
no,
so it's
yeah, so different. Yeah,
yeah,
different
so
language. American, yeah, American English versus British English. Yeah, I
yeah,
like
so
that
it's like
analogy.
so every day, like there can be something you'll say that'll offend someone that was meant as a compliment to them or as a neutral. And when they explain to you, you go, oh my God, I would never say that to you. That's like, and you feel hurt and you take it on yourself because you don't blame the other person for misunderstanding you or for not believing you when you try to talk to them, which now I do say, it's like, look, this is what I meant. If you don't believe me, that's fine. And I am sorry that I worded it in a way that insulted you. I'll be, I try and be so careful with my language now. But if I do, that's not what I meant. Like, and if they don't believe you, it's kind of their problem at some stage. I kind of share out the blame at least. It's like, oh, I'm sorry I worded it like that,
It's
but
like
that's
there's
not what I meant.
nothing
And
more
if
you
you're
can
not
do.
gonna,
You've done
yeah.
everything you can. To yeah,
So, but
yeah.
I didn't used to have that forgiveness for myself. So I was always kind of like, and then that builds up, and then you'll make careless mistakes because you're always distracted. As I say, it's for me, it's like a million voices going on at once. Like now I know sometimes just put my headphones on at work. And it's like, and I realized the reason why I listened to podcasts at work was because people go, podcasts, isn't that like, doesn't that distract you because you're listening to what they're saying? Go, yeah, but it's one conversation. It's not the conversations around me. It's not the conversation which I've got five going on in my head about. It's not the to-do list I've got in my head that I'm thinking about for later. And I'm getting distracted by all these things. And then I realize my work, I've made a dozen mistakes. Headphones on, one conversation happening in there, and I'm concentrating on my work. That's two channels. That's easy for an ADHD. So I just think it affects everything. Just you've always got the noise in your head. You're always kind of like worrying about what the next thing is you're going to say. And I believe a lot of my autistic friends, it's going to be the same. And again, I think I've got a dose of that as well. So on two fronts, probably, word things in a way which a lot of people don't. And I'm very honest. Like I'll say honestly what I think, to the point where sometimes people get offended by that. So you always watch out for that. So I think it's just always being on alert, partly because you are just more alert because your brain's just going 100 miles an hour, but you're looking for what you're going to do wrong. That sounds really bad, but it's like that's how you end up feeling. It's like, what am I going to say or do wrong next that's going to annoy or offend someone? Or I'm just trying to be nice to everyone. I want everyone to have a good time, and I seem to offend everyone, and that can be so crippling. I think that's the worst effect, and it kind of umbrellas a lot of other things along the
Do
way.
you,
And it's
do you
just
not
you miss
feel,
appointments. You're
do you
always late,
feel,
and you're always
sorry,
trying to be on time. And then, sorry,
no, no,
it's
no, no,
and you're
no.
always trying to be on time, and you get a reputation. It's like all you want is that person not to go. It's like, oh, Ian's late again. It's just it, yeah, because you're trying not to live up
Do,
to that, and it's not because you
do
want to
you,
be late.
yeah, sorry, do you feel differently though to that effect when you're around not only people in your community, people with ADHD, but also the people who know you best, your friends, your family, because because they know you. Um, like,
Yeah,
do you feel differently in
I
that?
mean, I definitely feel. I mean, definitely to the people in my family. Do you mean, or definitely
Oh no, no,
to
sorry.
someone?
Do you feel as
No,
though you're not worried about offending them because
got you.
they know you? Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, I mean,
Sorry. Yeah, I
no, no, no. Please,
should have explained it more accurately.
no, no. It's fine. It's sort of yes and no. To begin with, when I was younger, like you've kind of got to separate out as well. Are there just things you're doing that you could do better or you could correct? Like they might have nothing to do with neurodivergencies, and you might just be doing some things which just annoy people, and you've got to look in yourself to that, and others like what misunderstanding, what's whatever else. But with my friends and family, I guess with my really close friends, they've just been through it all with me, and they've kind of seen me change over the years. I think the fact that again, I'm not kind of trying to defend myself as much, so I find myself a lot more open now because again, I'm just trying to be listen to myself a bit more and just be a bit more relaxed. But with my close friends and family, yeah, it's I think friends especially, it's like because for better or worse, your friends choose you. They choose all your like weirdnesses, all your foibles, and those friends who are with you for the long haul, who you know for decades. Like my friend who I do the Due South podcast with, my friend Michelle. Um, I've known her since the 90s. And we were talking about Due South when it was originally on TV, so it's kind of quite fun that we're still talking about it today. And she just knows me now. She knows like all my kind of like annoying traits, all my kind of things where I kind of get belligerent, get on my own bum sometimes. I get too kind of locked in on something. And she knows when to sort of nudge me and when to go sort yourself out. It's like those people just know you in and out. And it's like, after a while, if you've been in someone's life, it would take something huge for you to like, that thing to, them to do something which is like really out. So they just know you really well. So they can work around kind of like your weirdnesses. They know what you mean when you say something, even if it's worded really poorly. They might even give you an opportunity to correct it. And you go, when you said that, just, yeah. Oh, right. Okay. Yeah, fair enough. Um, and with my family, it's a little bit different because it's like, obviously you've got like, I've got two brothers. So there's the sibling rivalry stuff. They're very different to me. One of them's really sporting. The other one, well, he goes for marathons as well, so he's kind of sporting in his own way. But like my older brother, he climbed up mountains and stuff. He studied maths, very educationally driven when he was younger. We kind of get on more, better now. But like, then there's my middle brother. He had dyslexia like me. He was the one who got sapped in jigsaws, and he's very different to me. He's like, to be honest with you, I think he's got autism, but like he's someone who's he's not very approachable. If I start talking to him about it, he goes, yes, thank you. He'd be annoyed, especially coming from me. And I don't think he's open to thinking about that because I think people just got such a negative outlook on neurodivergency. I think it should be just neutral. Like you should be able to go, like you do this and that. I do that as well. Like, have you got ADHD? Maybe, like, you should be able to have that conversation without someone being offended. No, I haven't got ADHD. It's like, well, I have. So why are you offended? Like you're saying it's offensive to be me. But it's like. But anyway, sorry, I digress. But he gets. So he's very. If he is on the spectrum, he is one of our friends on the spectrum who's kind of at a more closed off end. There are some people, I'm not generalizing, but there's some people I know with autism who they tend towards the more closed off end of it. Like they don't like kind of talk about their feelings. They kind of like keep themselves to themselves. My brother's a bit like that. He very clever though. He's a science teacher. He teaches over in the UAE. I'd say probably like my parents were the biggest impacts. So my dad, I kind of always looked up to him, like male role model, obviously, and he was so driven, and he kind of he was on loads of councils. He ran 3 shops at one stage, but chemist was his main business. He did all this stuff, so I always looked up to that. But my mum, I think, was very empathetic, and as I say, she used to be a nurse. I was so glad I grew up in a household which wasn't closed off to me having like dyslexia, and they tried to get me tested for ADHD. There's a lot of households where they're going, well, I don't want them to use it as a crutch, or I don't want them to be other than. It's like, well, they already will be. Just if they've got more knowledge, it'll help them, and they'll be able to get help working with society. It's like denying the problem doesn't help. I hate that, but yeah, I think my mum's probably one of the ones who, like, I get probably annoyed with myself more when I get impatient with her, even to this day. It's like she's of that age where it's like she doesn't hear very well. She gets very closed off on certain things, and she can be difficult to talk to. So can I, though. So but she always like I'll be annoyed and I'll be apologizing. I'm sorry, I got frustrated, Mum. I was trying to work and I couldn't stop for that thing that she'll stop me every time I'm going through, even if I'm just letting my dog out for a wee and I've got to run back to my desk because I'm working from home, and she'll want a 5 minutes conversation. It's like, and like sometimes I deal with it better than others. Sometimes you get frustrated, and I always apologize, and she's always like, "Oh, it's already forgotten." It's like, and I think she's probably the person in my family who kind of always got it the most. And I had this Uncle Frank, who was always he was like a big kid, and he always like would he'd always want to hang out with the kids, listen to them, talk to them. Like he treated a kid like they had a voice the same as anyone else. Whereas as a kid you can feel like no one listens to you, especially when you've got ADHD and a million ideas trying to come out of your head.
Uncle Frank would always listen to you.
Yeah, and it can be so exhausting for everyone. And I understand that, and I can understand why that's a lot for someone to be around. But he always listened, always asked me how I was, always talked to me on a kind of level like that. So yeah, that's my thesis on friends and family. So it's a mixed bag with me, but they tend to get me.
Thank you.
They're the ones who've known you the longest.
Thank you ever so much for that, and I can't thank you enough for coming on. On the Neurodifference podcast. It's been a huge pleasure having you on, and everybody, please check out Iain's podcast. If Mr. Squee, is that correct?
Dr. Squee, but Mr. Cheese.
Apologies.
No, it's a very.
A lot of information taken in.
Neurodiversity. When I used to be really like, I find I'm getting better with names, but I've always been really bad with those. But it was because my nickname was Squee, for reasons I won't go into, and I was doing a podcast, the Dr. Who one, and I was training as a counsellor at the time, so I didn't want my clients to be able to find me. So I just came up with, it's about Dr. Who, Dr. Squee, that sounds good. So that's, and it just kind of stuck around. It's a bit of fun.
Cool.
Really.
It's very cool. It's very cool. Hopefully,
yes, people, please have these conversations. I just want to thank you so much for having me on. I really, I know I've talked your ears off, but
It's what this podcast is here for. To be honest,
I want people to feel more comfortable.
Sorry.
Yeah, shining a light. I want people to feel comfortable talking about the neurodivergencies. I don't want anyone to feel like they're alone. And share your tips and tricks when you get diagnosed. If you found a way to get seen quicker, like I did with Right to Choose, talk to people, tell people the best places to go, and help each other out. Because God knows we spend so long kind of trying to work against this sort of system that doesn't really work for us. So say thank you. It's just wonderful. Anyone who does stuff like this, I think, is just absolutely great.
Thank you. Thank you.